my sweet friends, I hope you are all doing well. It's Wednesday, so I'm sharing another crafty tutorial. This week I've got a really fun one. I'm going to be using the new dollar download Valentine card printable from my shop to make a festive greeting card. I'll also be showing this with different stages of completion so you can see that the printable makes a sweet and simple style card, and you can also include additional items as layers and level this up as little or as much as you want to make this project with your own personal style. I also have another question of the day. Last week I asked you to share where you're watching from and what the current weather is. I had so much fun reading all those comments, and I'll say I am a bit jealous of those of you living in warmer climates. So today here in Michigan, we're experiencing snog, and if you're not familiar with that term, it's when you have snow cover and fog at the same time. So the ground is white and the air is white, everything is white. It's very disorienting to get any depth perception when everything is the same color. So we have snog in Michigan because we get all the weather at the same time. And so my question for you to answer in the comments today is, let me know what is the weather condition that occurs where you live that most people may not have heard of or not experience. And I'm looking forward to reading your comments. I've got my dollar download printable here, and I designed it to have a larger background pattern, a layering pattern, a festive focal image, a sentiment, as well as a couple of extra details like this tag and this bingo card. For the project we're working on today, I am using only one printing of the image, and a helpful tip to get the most out of the printable is to set your printer margins to the least it will allow and still maintain the entire image. For today, we're going to be working on a standard size greeting card, and so this one is going to be 6.5 inches high by 5 wide, and I've got my background pattern here. I have added a layer of pink cardstock, and we'll use that a couple of times here for this card just to have a nice solid border between the patterns. And so I'm going to add this directly to my card base using my double-sided adhesive. If you would like a more layered card, you could use a foam spacer between these layers, and that will give you a lot of depth and dimension. And I think this card would look equally nice with a red border if you have red cardstock to use instead of pink. Now, if you're going to make your sweet and simple card, I would begin to layer on those additional details now. And I've taken my layering pattern and cut that with a dovetail die, and so I have a little stitched detail. Not too much of that is going to show, but you don't have to have a die to cut this notch here. You could simply cut your paper and then fold it back to itself and then clip that into the center, and you're going to get that notched out section. And so I would also use just my regular double-sided tape to adhere this, and I'm focusing that closer to the bottom and the right so that more of it will show once I add all of the additional layers. So we're going to continue on with the sweet and simple style, and so then I would include my tag, and for a further step I did add an eyelet and some twine, but just for the sweet and simple card, cut that tag out and use that as a layering piece underneath the focal image. And I also want to include my bingo card. Here is that, and it's going to anchor the other corner, and I've used this sentiment as a smaller layering section for the top of the bingo card. I did decide to cut the ends of it off, and then I took a marker and colored the edge of this paper so that the white core would not show, and I would add that over top of that bingo card word, and so this becomes the sentiment for the card. And the last detail I would add is to have my focal image here in the center so that all of those little details show around the edge. And so for the continuing of the layering, I did add a foam spacer to this in a double border just because I didn't want that layering element to be lost with the pink on the pink. And so I did decide to add white. But for the Sweet and Simple card, you would add this with just your double-sided tape. And I think that is absolutely precious. I love how bright and cheerful it is. And I think that truck will work well for your greeting cards or tags, and also for making fun home decor. And so this is what I would consider to be my Sweet and Simple card. So I'm going to add a couple of these layers and then move a couple off so that we can include some additional details and level this card up. I've got my background layers on now, and the next additional detail you could add is a small doily. Now I did die cut this from a crisp white piece of paper so that it will be a definite layering element, and you can see I chose this size so that I will still have that doily, but most of those background details are still going to show, and I would include that underneath my focal image. So you could also stop there and it will give it a little bit of additional detail. For the next level up, I do want to include some florals. So I have created these with scraps from my scrap box, and I've added a pink and a red flower along with die cut foliage, some netting, and a loopy twine bow. I've also added a bow to this as well, and this is created with the Mayarts pink Wrinkle ribbon. I picked this up from a Really Reasonable ribbon, and this is a nice ribbon to add as a petite bow if you don't want to cover up too much of your background, or in an instance like this when I want to include two of these floral arrangements. Now you see I am being careful to position the top one so that I'm not covering up my sentiment there, and then I'm going to balance that with a identical arrangement for the bottom, and you see that is going to help fill both of those corners. You could easily stop with one arrangement and it would still be perfectly nice, but I think for some holidays, especially Valentine's, it is the right choice to go over the top and put on as many fun embellishments as you can. So let's add those with a little hot glue. Got my flowers on now, and if you prefer to use ready-made flowers, they have a really nice selection at Really Reasonable ribbon for them as well, and so you could jump right to the fun part of assembling your card. I just like to get a little use out of my scraps, and I enjoy that busy work of making them myself. So this would be another place where you could stop, and this card is absolutely beautiful just as it is, but we have one more level up. For the remaining details on my card, I did add a couple of charms here. They're just an enamel top heart-shaped charm with a pink center that coordinates perfectly with my color palette. I covered the cut strings with a button. I've added some stickles to parts of my focal image, and last but not least, I do have some sequins here added, 2 to the image and 1 to the bingo card, and that helps to create a nice balance. And so that's going to be it for today. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial on our Valentine card created with the $1 download printable from my shop, with different amounts of detail, leveling this up from Sweet and Simple to over the top. If you did, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I have links for the printable from my shop and the trims from Really Reasonable ribbon, as well as links to our socials in the description below. And I'm wishing everyone a happy and productive day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.